When you think about a goal that you have, or a problem that you'd like to solve, how do you go about choosing which tool you want to use? Which resource or which connection you'd like to leverage to resolve it? And in those times, what is your go-to? Which is that tool or that instrument or that resource that you seem to draw on most frequently, or that you have the greatest level of comfort with? Thank you for tuning in to this week's Time to Come Alive. My name is Valerie Hope, and I am your host. And as you know, every week I have an opportunity to have enlightening conversations with someone to help us become more mindful, more conscious, more connected, and more creative. And today is no exception. In just a moment, I'll introduce my special guest for the day. But before that, I want to remind you, if you are not already subscribed, to www.timetocomealive.com, so that way you get every single episode in your inbox. Go ahead and do that now. And you can also, as you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified whenever a new video is posted. So that's really important. I want to make sure you don't miss a single episode. Now, back to our special guest today. The good news is, you guys know I meet people in some of the most interesting ways, and today is no exception. I actually met Amy Lynn Durham, which I'll introduce in just a moment. And Amy and I have known each other for Amy, like a month, 2 months or something like that, not very long, but we have some mutual friends who love and adore you, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to meet this lady. And then I had the fortune of this past week, actually, it's only been a week, getting together with precisely that group of people from the Berkeley Institute, the University of Berkeley, and the University of California, Berkeley Executive Coaching Institute. We all are peers from that particular institute and got together, and you did an absolutely cool tarot card reading for us, which as a group we'd never done together, and I think brought up some amazing conversations between all of us, and then also some self-discovery. And I'm still processing a lot of the stuff you said. So first of all, thank you so much for being on my podcast today, Amy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, we definitely raised a lot of energy last week.
Right?
I couldn't even sleep. I was like, oh my gosh, it was
Really?
A lot of energy that was raised. Yeah.
What?
It was cool.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, I want to come back to this. What else should we know about you?
The main thing that I think everyone should know about me is one of my main goals is that I want to make sure we all work together to bring collaboration, heart, and human connection into the workplace. And the biggest piece I think missing from that is people are afraid to be their authentic selves at work. And I'm just speaking about that because that was me. I'm branded now as the corporate mystic, but really I was corporate at my old job and I was the mystic at home. And so the beauty, actually I had a real transformational experience at the Berkeley Coaching Institute, and that really helped me. I realized I was splitting myself. I don't know if that's a psychological phrase or not, but I'm going to claim it. And I wasn't bringing my full authentic self into every single room that I walked in. And that was one of the most transformational moments of my life when I realized that and decided to, I'm going to be who I am wherever I am, no matter what. So I think if everybody can have the courage and the vulnerability to do that, our world would heal a lot faster. And I think if leaders understand how powerful that is to allow people to be that way, wow, that would be an amazing day.
Wow. All right. You've given us quite a bit to unpack there. So let's start with first things first. When you say the word mystic, what does that actually mean?
So for me, it's just having, I don't want to say I have spiritual intelligence and other people don't, because that's not the case. Everybody has it. But it's working with it, cultivating your intuition, tapping into it, working to bring it to the forefront of your life, putting your ego aside for the greater good. It's a little bit of humility, all of those things. And everybody has that within them. Everyone has intuition. Do you shove it down, or do you start taking a moment and listening to what your higher self is telling you? And then maybe make decisions from there.
Okay. So you mentioned you were corporate at work and then mystic at home. So give us a picture, like take us there. Like, what was a snapshot of Amy at work versus Amy at home?
So this is how I like to describe it. I'm a Capricorn, if you know your star sign in astrology. I don't know if anybody knows it.
I know mine.
So I'm a Capricorn sun, right? But I'm a Pisces moon. And typically, if you look up your moon sign in astrology, it's kind of like who you are at home. And the Pisces moon is the mystic and the psychic. And then Capricorn is sort of the corporate worker bee, right? So I was splitting those two things. And when I went home, all I did was study tarot, or I would read all sorts of spiritual intelligence type things, Eckhart Tolle, meditation, setting intentions. I work with the phases of the moon. That was my crystals. I do appreciation anchors for emotional management strategy for people, things like that. I was doing all of that for myself at home. Then I would walk out my door and I would go to work as Amy, the executive director. And I wasn't bringing any of that to the workplace, which is a shame, because it really helps connect people and it actually increases profit and productivity. Okay. So when I decided to leave my corporate job in 2018, I planned for a year to leave my job. And what I did was I utilized my team and my employees as sort of research, if you will, on these spiritual intelligence activities or tools like you were talking about in the beginning, and really proved in the field that these things work. And so that's sort of where I started bringing myself, my full self, to the table. And then once I attended Berkeley, the Berkeley Executive Coaching Institute, as you know, I mean, the lid just flew off. Exactly. All of a sudden, I'm like, create magic at work. And, you know, I used to hide at home, and now I'm like doing tarot gatherings. So it's like been crazy. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And I do think, you know, we sometimes live in a context that doesn't necessarily pull for people really going beyond what the norm, right, or the status quo is. Often I think we're trapped in that. Some of it is internal, I will say. You know, I can see that in certain corporate spaces is not really like, oh, Amy, what does your intuition tell us? What does their Capricorn sun have to say about our third quarter earnings? Like,
they should ask. They should ask me that, though. No,
they should have asked. But I can see that that's not the kind of conversation that generally comes up. So tell me, I'd love to just get a moment. Like, tell us a moment at work, like when you're in this corporate role, that you felt maybe that want to utilize or to share or contribute your intuition prior to when you started experimenting with your with your colleagues. But can you tell us of a moment where you felt drawn to, but you kind of held back?
Where I felt drawn to and held back?
Yeah, like you felt like, oh man, if they could just notice today's in the lunar cycle. I don't know. I'm making the words up. I don't know. But if you know that there was something that you could have said, but you held it back, knowing that they might think is odd or strange or crazy.
I don't know if there was a specific moment, but I would say every meeting. I mean, like every time. So for example, I would be involved every single morning. This is just one example of one position I held, where I had to phone in every day and report our financial data and our sales numbers in every day. I had to phone that in. There was no connection on that call. There was no, hey, how are you? I mean, it was quick. You know, it was, I could have programmed a robot to call in and rattle off the numbers from the computer that were, you know, sitting right in front of everybody anyway. To me, just noticing things like that where to me, that's taking the human out of the workplace. Why are we even on this call together unless we're connecting? Because nobody's going to remember the numbers. But if you went around to everybody on the call and asked them what they're grateful for today, I would remember that Jimmy said he was grateful for his mom being, you know, saying she's in remission from cancer, whatever, right? Like whatever connecting. I'm like, wow, Jimmy's going through that. Let me reach out to him and see if he needs help later this week. Little tiny things like that. It doesn't have to be some huge tarot reading or, you know, my crystal grid I'm making for you or whatever, right? It can just be, Valerie, what are you grateful for today in a group setting? And that I have seen has been some of the most impactful times I've had with my team, was just giving them a chance to share that they're human.
I love that. And you're right. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't even necessarily require some powerful intuitive sense to do that. But I think what you're pointing to is sometimes we lean away from the kind of skills that bring people together for the sake of efficiency, for the sake of being, you know, of following our logic as opposed to our emotion in some decisions. I remember, I'll give you an example. Last year for Thanksgiving, or before Thanksgiving really, my brother and my cousin had he had a road trip, made up with my cousin, and they were talking about, oh, it's been so long since we've seen each other. We need to do a family reunion. It would be great. Let's do Thanksgiving. And so they said, well, let's get Valerie to coordinate it because she's really good at, you know, coordinating stuff. I hate coordinating people. I might be good at doing it in comparison to others, primarily because I worked in a corporate setting a lot. So you learn how to set up meetings and do Google Meets and all that good stuff. And so they sent this huge email saying, Valerie, guess what? We want to do something for Thanksgiving. We're going to put you in charge. My heart sank. I literally was like, I would love to see my family and get everybody together, but I hate having that. I just felt the weight of having to coordinate people is not my gift. So I kind of shied away at first. My mom was like, Valerie, you should really do it because you do have a knack for bringing people together. And I was like, okay, what they think is me coordinating stuff, what I see is really connecting people. And so what was so awesome, and I told them, I said, look, I'm a little intimidated by having to coordinate the logistics. That's not my gift, but I'm great at bringing people together. If you're open to us making a team out of this, I'm down. And what was so beautiful is when we had our first call, I was able to bring in all these other cousins who wouldn't have participated before. And on the call, instead of just launching into, okay, so it's November 20 something, let's start planning, what are we gonna bring and who's coming? I said, okay, what would you like to say about our Thanksgiving gathering at the end of this? Like, we've done it, we've all come together. We set a vision, which is what I love to do, set a vision for it. And it was beautiful because that vision really helped us make decisions about where we spent money, where we didn't, where we spent time and energy and where we didn't. But I literally struggled with the decision. And that was in my family of like bringing something that I thought would find a connection. And like you said, bring that humanity. What is it in your world, in your life, what was it that prevented you from actually taking that step? What do you think?
I really, if we want to get really big with the answer, I feel like this is the true answer. It goes to women in the workplace and how I thought I was, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to speak for myself, but how I thought I was supposed to behave in the corporate world as a woman and as a leader. And I quickly found that, and we read a lot, I've read a lot on, you know, don't act like a man, bring your gifts to the table as a woman, or for me, you know, I call it divine feminine energy. And we need both divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy in the workplace. So I think it just goes back to acting in a way you think is acceptable in the workplace. And it's really down to the majority of leaders are men, especially in the workplace that I was at. And the majority of those leaders were white men. And they were very comfortable looking at data and looking at financial records and putting together quarterly business reviews where you stand up in front of everybody and you get grilled, which fine. But guess what they weren't comfortable with? They weren't comfortable with showing vulnerability in the workplace. They weren't comfortable in the beginning with maybe a connecting activity, like sharing what you want to let go of in your life, or maybe what your ultimate goal is at work with someone in a group. And I think that once I realized that my creativity and my divine feminine energy was actually a complement to the workplace rather than hiding it, I saw some real changes within myself and also within my work. And I think it was recognized by other men as well. I mean, men want this stuff. They want to feel safe. They're craving it. They're told when they're little boys, sometimes you're not allowed to cry. And so they grow up in this space where they're afraid to feel vulnerable because they think it shows weakness, when actually courage and vulnerability are some of the biggest strengths that you can show. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it took me down that road. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I think, I've taken some courses, some PAX programs, PAX, and they do a lot of understanding men, understanding women courses. And I think one of the things that I hear in what you're saying is that for many men, what I've learned is that there's a drive internally, how their brains are wired to produce results, to solve problems, right? And that hunter instinct, right? That instinct to hunt for the solution, or to hunt for the goal, also requires them to be single focused, one, but also conceal some of those perceived weaknesses, right? Or vulnerabilities, because they might get in the way of achieving the goal or resolving the problem. And so what I'm hearing you say also is that in an environment where you have people that have a lot of different gifts and talents in their toolbox that could all be working towards fulfilling that goal or solving the problem, it can enhance the experience, get there faster, perhaps get there feeling even better and more accomplished in the long run. And so in the feminine energy really brings connection, brings partnership. It brings the panorama rather than the single focus. It can bring in, oh, you know what's missing here? Or, in addition to this is something else we can bring in. And having that complement, I think, is what you're speaking to, that could also influence, right? But for you specifically, I know you said this whole idea of bringing in your intuition, you're noticing when humanity isn't present, right? The human is kind of left in the background in service of the financials, the metrics, that part. When you started to experiment with bringing more of that part of you into the workplace, tell us how that happened. What happened?
So I think when I started to experiment, I had reached a point where I didn't care as much anymore what other people thought, and I was going to try this. And then the other piece to that was, I think as a leader, I was lonely. And there's a lot of data that shows sort of the higher you move up, the lonelier you can feel as a leader. And so I almost think I did it for myself, starting these tools and these activities, because I was lonely as a leader. And tapping into the power that you have as a leader in a positive way is really powerful. But yeah, once I started to see them working, it was amazing. So I'll show you, because we've talked about it. We've referenced it a little bit, but so there's this company there, and a lot of people, I'm surprised, but it's probably just because of the world I'm in. They've never heard of this before.
Wow.
But this company is called the Flying Wish Paper Company. And they sell these little kits. And so you can do this in the workplace. You can do this one-on-one. And I think I sent you a kit, Valerie, but I have this one here for me. And you take.
I know you do, and you did. And I should have thought about that before we hit play, because then I would have actually found it.
I can do it for you.
Do.
So what you do, it comes with a little platform. This is the platform that my kit comes with, and you can basically in a group. I'm bringing this up because of your question. This was one of the most impactful things I've seen done with a group of people. And you can set a goal for your work life, maybe write 3 intentions down on the tissue. Or we're coming up on the full moon in a couple of days, and the full moon's a really great time to release and let go of something. So as a leader, if you're aware of the phases of the moon, as I would strategically pick that topic with my team. Hey, why don't we share with each other something we want to let go of in our life as a team build activity? And each person would take some time to write down on the Flying Wish paper what they would like to let go of in their life. So we can do that right now if you want to do a rapid.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So something I want to let go of. Wow. Let's see. I think I shared with you. I have some lower back pain that's been kind of nagging at me for a while, and been doing some physical therapy kind of work to help loosen it up in yoga. But I think I would love to let go of whatever the tension is, like, because I find myself also having to sit a certain way or to lean a certain way in order for it to not hurt. I want to be able to relax into it, because I feel there's just a lot of muscle tightness built over time. So releasing the tension. Let's write that. Right, I want to let go of the tension in my body. I want to be free.
So Valerie, release unnecessary tension.
Boom. Yes, let's do that.
Release unnecessary.
I feel looser already just saying it. What about you?
I'm going to put down that I want to give up not needing to know what happens next.
Oh, put my name next to that one too.
Give up not needing, I don't even know if that's proper grammar, but we're going to go with it, to know what happens next. In our tarot gathering last week, I don't know if you remember, I pulled a spirit animal card for everyone at the end.
Yeah.
And Reba, one of our Berkeley coaches, was in it, and she said, pull a card, Amy, and I pulled one for myself, and it was the hummingbird. And the message was to be here now. And so I'm gonna kind of stack on top of that today with, I'm gonna give up the not needing to know what happens next. And we're gonna release your unnecessary tension.
Yes.
And so you write that down. This is a beautiful time to do it because it's the full moon. You take this paper, you crumple it up. It's just a fun visual when you have employees and a team. And then you kind of smooth the paper out, and then each person rolls it into it.
You open it up again? Show us?
So yep, you open it up again.
Oh, okay.
And so now it's like crinkly. So let's hope this works on camera right now. But if it doesn't, I promise you it actually really works.
Okay.
This is the first time I've done this, like with somebody on camera live.
I'm really curious now. Yeah, let's see.
All right, let me make sure I get it.
So what are you doing? Can you show us in the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me turn the camera down here.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that's better.
So you put it in a tube on this platform.
Please do not harm yourself or any of your equipment.
Yeah, don't try this at home. So you light the top of it, and we're gonna let go of these two things right now that we talked about, okay?
Yes.
See if it works.
Look at that. This is the first time I've had fire on
Now
time.
it's gonna fly up in the air. Woo!
Oh my gosh. Are you okay?
Yeah, no. Look,
Is it out?
It flies up into the air. I'm gonna catch it and show you. And usually you can do it outside under the moon. Where's my camera?
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just like a little, it looks like a hairball.
Yeah, it's basically ash now.
It's ash. Wow.
Yeah. So you imagine the impact when you have everybody inside. Yeah, it's like it gives you that like aha, like wow. See, it's like a little ash thing now. And you can actually take this. It's like floating around. I don't want to lose it because you can actually take it and you can bury it in I'm getting real crazy on this show now.
No, say it.
You can take, I want to save this. I caught it because I want to save it, and you can bury it in your backyard if you have a little yard, or you can put it in a little succulent plant you have.
Yeah.
And all the energy that you transmuted with that maybe can feed a new positive transformation or feed a new way or something like that. So this is one of my favorite activities because it has that wow factor where it burns down and then flies up into the air. And when employees or coaches or whoever participate in that, I mean, it's so fun because they spend some time writing what they want to let go of or bring into their life. And when you go around and ask them to share, that's where the magic happens. That's where people hear the vulnerability, like you and I just shared with each other. And if you continue to do that with your team or with people, they will continue to come together at an even tighter or in an even closer way. I had one exercise where, one of the guys in the group said, I'm going to let go of like the Redskins losing last weekend or something like that. And that's totally fine. Like whatever they're able to bring to the table, but and everybody laughed. So we had some humor there. But then I had another team member say he was going to finally forgive his parents. Oh. And it was this huge moment. Yeah. And that was in the workplace. Yeah. And that was so cool. Oh,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. It was, it's just little tools like that make it fun. It's like bringing the fun back.
What is the exercise called again?
In my book, I call it the intention setting exercise. And then the actual paper is flying up in the air. Make a wish, paper.
Okay. So there you have it, y'all. If you want to do a powerful intention setting moment, and I can almost see this, I've shared before that my birthday is like my new year. So my birthday's not till February, but my birthday's like my new year. And so that's the year that's the time where I actually go through like, what do I want to let go of? What do I want to claim for my life this year? Right? That kind of thing. And so I can almost see this as like something we can do on birthdays or an anniversary or some meaningful rite of passage where people are able to let go of whatever the old is, new job, new home, new family, new something, right? To burn the old in order to usher space for the new. So love that.
Definitely.
And you'll share with us where we can get your book or the flying wish paper and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Later. You can just, okay. Yeah. We can bring it up later.
Yeah. I'll make sure to put the links and stuff too, so that people have access to it. But I want to go back to something. Yeah. I want to go back. Okay. So, I want to go deeper. And you mentioned this in the very beginning. So we did a group tarot reading. So first of all, let's just walk people through that, because I think that was kind of cool. And it was something that you hadn't done quite that way before. So walk us through how that came to happen, and what was it that you were hoping for in a group setting as opposed to like one-on-one?
Yeah. So as an executive coach, as my clients get to know me a little bit more, they realize the mystical side, and most people are attracted to me because they're meant to work with me, right? I don't go out seeking as much as you make the choice to work with me. And so typically around, I don't know, once they're comfortable, third or fourth session, maybe a client will say, hey, can you pull a tarot card for me? Or I might say, hey, why don't we check the energies around this? And once we're really close and comfortable, that's sort of how it comes about in a coaching session. Yeah. Our friend Allison knows I meet up with her about once a week as a peer, And I just started, every week we just started doing tarot or talking about shadow work or talking about oracle cards to help guide us and improve our spiritual intelligence. So she actually pushed me, thankfully, I love her, into doing a group tarot gathering. And anytime I do something like that, I always want to make sure I say that I'm not the leader, I'm just the facilitator, because everybody has the answers within. I am not a fortune teller. I do not predict the future. You can ask a question and I can be the vessel that pulls the cards that gives you the messages, and you know deep down inside what the messages are for you. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. We'll pull what energies are surrounding your questions right now, and you'll decide which way to go. And I would say just, you know, I would say anybody that's predicting the future, I would be a little leery of, because we all make present moment decisions that impact our future, and we can change the trajectory of our life in a moment at any time. So.
Oh, that's so brilliant. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think my experience, or at least the perception that I had about tarot, was that it was like a fortune teller type activity, and it was about predicting the future. And my experience with you was not that at all. I mean, you do say there's like a past, present, future kind of energy, I imagine. So can you explain a little bit about what that means? And if you're not
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So in the tarot gathering we decided to do past, present, future readings because it was the shortest amount for a group that we could do, and it was kind of an easy spread.
Okay.
And even, I think you noticed from the group, even with the past, present, future, it was like, here's your present. If you kind of continue on this path, maybe these are the energies that are going to surround your future. And here are some choices you can make. And then we also pulled a shadow card to work on our deep unconscious, the deep unconscious areas of ourself that we might be hiding. And what was really cool in that group session was I didn't even realize it was happening. It was just sort of flowing with it. I didn't have it planned. Was the shadow card was tying in to the past, present, future readings as to like, here are some things you can work on to move forward in a positive way. Maybe you need to clear some of this deep, dark shadow stuff. And wow, once that clears, the light really shines on the future potential of what comes up.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So you also said that after that you got really amped up, like it was really energizing to you. So what was it about that experience that was so energizing for you?
So the energies that we raised as a group together was really powerful, because I really like being the facilitator. We opened it up to where we talked about having a really specific question so you don't get confused, right? And a few of the women said, well, I know what I want, but I don't have my question fully fleshed out. So as a group, we sort of helped in a coaching way, each individual pull out their specific question. That's very, very important when you're doing work like this, because you want to be very clear on what your question is. I can give an example. I did a tarot reading for a woman that wanted to know about purchasing her beach house. And it came up very positive. One of the cards that came up in the reading was the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is traditionally an independent woman, has great finances. Everything's going to be great for her. And it's just a real auspicious card. She was asking about purchasing her new beach house. She reached out to me a couple days later and said, oh my gosh, does this mean I'm going to be single for the rest of my life? Because she did a little bit, because it's an independent woman standing on her own in the card, you know. And that's why it's so important that, to me, when we were doing that group session, that we're very clear on the question. And I redirected her back. I said, no, you didn't ask about your love life. You asked about the beach house. Exactly. And that's when you start spinning a little bit in fear. And that's why it's really great to have that clarified question, to go with. Because right when I reminded her, she's like, oh yeah, never mind.
Okay.
I'm fine, you know?
It even struck a little chord with me. I'm like, wait, was that? Am I gonna be single the rest of my life? So
Right.
okay, I feel like we need to pull a card, Amy.
Okay.
I want to pull a card now. Now that you've teased us with the magic and the mystical side of you.
What do we want to do? Do we want to do? I have the shadow work deck with me, so let's roll with that one. You want to do a shadow card?
Sure, why not? Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. I usually use the traditional it's called the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but this one is amazing because this one was specifically designed.
Can you show us what you're doing so people can see?
Yeah, so typically I just shuffle the deck 3 times. And since we're gonna pull a shadow card, I can concentrate my energies to pull one for you.
Okay, perfect.
And you focus on the deck as well.
Okay.
If you can.
Yeah.
And just focus on, what do you want? What message is the universe wanting to send you?
Okay.
In order to work on shadow work.
So it doesn't have to be a specific question. It could just be, what does the universe want me to work on?
Not for shadow work, because we're just going to pull one card.
Okay.
We're going to shuffle this 3 times with the energy focus now. So feel one more. Woo! I can't shuffle today. So sometimes in tarot, cards will jump out.
Okay.
We call them jumper cards. That means they're specifically
Did I have a
meant
jumper
for
card
you.
in here?
You didn't get a jumper, but it was getting close. I was like, what's happening here?
There's a bunch of cards saying, we got to tell Valerie this.
They're all flying around.
Woo! Okay.
So if you tell me which card is your card from the top, that'll be your shadow card. All right.
Middle. Yeah.
So this is, oh my gosh.
Oh my
I
goodness.
have been seeing this card over and over. So this is the Ace of Pentacles.
Yeah.
Our friend Becky, who's also executive coach, she gets this card all the time. So this is a new journey in career. This is abundance in finances, etc. So remember, we asked shadow. So in order for you to crack open this Ace of Pentacles energy, we're gonna look up the shadow work piece from it.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh.
I can't believe I got the Ace of Pentacles again.
Okay.
That card has been coming up for a lot of Berkeley coaches.
How many Ace of Pentacles do you have in that deck?
1 out of 78.
Yikes.
So the tarot has a major suit and then 4 minor suits, and one of the minor suits is Pentacles, and that's usually about career, finances, things like that. All right. It's the earth, the fall, autumn, So Ace of Pentacles. So we're going to ask some deep questions right now so you can crack this open. Okay. Have you been refusing to allow something natural or new to emerge?
I have a tendency to want to control an outcome. So that might be why. Yeah, I can see that. Yes.
Okay. Where have you refused to take any gifts that have been offered to you?
Refuse to take any gifts? I'm always open to a good gift. I'm not sure.
And I would explore that a little bit energetically. It doesn't have to be a tangible gift. Maybe the universe is offering an energetic gift that you need to look and see a little bit more. And that's the art in this card too. It's the hand of the divine reaching out with something in it.
Yeah. So, that's interesting you say that, because I think what comes up for me now is that I have a tendency to do things on my own because I feel it's just more agile, I guess, in doing it. And so I don't always seek help as readily as I could, right? So people might offer help, may offer assistance, may offer support, some sort, whatever makes sense in the context of whatever I'm looking to do. And so I think maybe it's just being open to, or even asking for it readily. That happens.
So asking for help.
Or receiving support from other people in whatever ways makes sense. I'm like, oh, I got this. It's fast. I could just do it really quick, rather than saying, hey, help me out.
And what was it you said before that you were saying something right on the first question that there was something about control or being too rigid?
Yeah. So what was interesting is during this whole time that the last few months, ever since George Floyd's murder and everything that's come out around racism, systemic racism in the US and around the world really too, I've been called in different ways, shape or form by people to say, hey, do you work on this? Is this something you do for organizations? That's not really what I say I do. It's not my forte, at least not in the approach that's the conventional approach, right? Kind of to your point is my challenge between the corporate and the mystic side of me, right? The mystic side of me is really about how to bring people together, how to do so in a way that's humane, in a way that honors and people understand each other beyond the protected categories, beyond sex, beyond religion, beyond gender, beyond race, beyond ethnicity, beyond all of that. How do we go deeper? And I'd resisted for many months really moving into what might that message be. And it's really been recently, like in the last 2 weeks, that I started having some conversations about how I can show up in that space in an authentic way. And honor, right? Honor all of the things that need to be dealt with at all those other levels too. There's nothing wrong with working on those very deep traumatic experiences that people have. And I also know that that's not my specialty. That's not the tool or the resource that I bring, but I've resisted a lot, even just, okay, maybe I have a voice that I could play in that arena. And so it's literally like, that's recent. That's like in the last 2 weeks. And I have a couple of conversations. I had 2 conversations yesterday that have been pointing me very surely in that direction. So that's what comes up right now.
Yeah, that's interesting too, that you got the Ace of Pentacles for that, because it isn't, it's a new start. It's a new journey. It's, Ace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how it goes in a card deck. And then now it's these deep questions you need to ask to sort of maybe crack a new journey open, which is really cool. What have you been taking for granted? Have you been ignoring important signs or omens? Like the Ace of Pentacles? No, I'm just kidding.
Like this one? I think I've been ignoring and taking for granted some of my own experience. Even yesterday, I literally had a conversation with a new connection, and somebody introduced me to this woman who finally heard, I think, she's an African-American woman. And I shared with her as a Panamanian woman who is Black, my perception or my perspective is very different. I didn't grow up with a lot of the trauma around race that people, other Blacks born in the U.S., raised in the U.S., especially in the South, where I spent most of my time living in the South, but I didn't have that same perspective. And so I found it really hard to really, do I have a voice in this space? I don't really have that same pain, and I don't know how to speak to it from my perspective in a way that will honor that. And so she shared some things with me. She's like, wow, we need to hear your voices too. And, so I took for granted that what I brought, that perspective I brought in that particular topic would have any value. And so, really, like I said, this is like fresh bread right now, Amy. It's just like coming out of the oven. Well, it's not even baked yet, but I just started to figure out, oh, okay, there might be something here that I can really support. So
really cool.
Fascinating. Yeah. So this is really validating too that.
Yeah. So you can see how incorporating the tarot can actually, without predicting or pretending like I know what's best for you, we can call on like a higher energy, a higher intelligence, whatever that is for you or for me, to come in and let's give Valerie some thoughtful questions today. And that's what's so cool about the shadow work too, is it asks us to work on ourselves rather than pointing the finger and pointing out what other people need to work on.
Although that's so much fun too.
Yeah, right. So much fun.
Amy, can you pull a card for him?
Yeah, exactly.
No, what shadows to work.
Yeah, but when we do that, I actually launched Shadow Work Sunday with Create Magic at Work. And every Sunday we have a shadow work theme with some questions to ponder. And I think that if we start focusing on ourselves rather than how others need to be, I think that's where healing the world's going to really come into play.
Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So in the as a wrap up in the last few minutes that we
Mm-hmm.
have, what are some things that people could take advantage of? You mentioned you have a book, right? Create Magic at Work. I see right over your right shoulder there, you have a poster.
Yeah.
But talk to us a little bit about where people can find you, what resources or workshops or groups or any of that might be helpful for others.
So it's really easy. All you have to do is go to createmagicatwork.net, and all of the resource pages are there. I do want to mention, since we did the intention setting exercise, that if you go to my products page on createmagicatwork.net, if you purchase my book directly from me, I just do this sparingly because it's a lot of work, but I'm willing to do it for your audience. If you purchase my book directly from the products page on my website, createmagicatwork.net, you'll get an actual signed copy of my book from me, and I'll send you a free Flying Wish paper kit. And the art on it is secretly supposed to be me as the high priestess from the tarot. So there's like some secret symbolism there, but I'll send you a really cute package if you want to do that. But yeah, everything's on createmagicatwork.net. I've got a membership club where they get cool stuff like this each month to play around with. And I think ultimately we can, hopefully you kind of felt that we really dug into some deep things, but we almost made it fun and light with some of the tools, right? Like we talked about some really deep transforming topics, but we made it fun with some beautiful art and some beautiful tools.
Absolutely. So, and I think, you know, you mentioned a couple of things. First, the group of people and just the amount of respect and care and love that exists within this particular group makes a difference, I think, because how open people were. Others were also very open. I think that's number one. And then number two, that, you know, the way that you facilitated it. And I don't know if you seek to do more group sessions, but I absolutely recommend them. I think it's a great team bonding activity. And your approach, I guess it depends on what people are wanting to get out of it, right? If they're wanting to do something as a group to bring them together, this is super helpful. Families, friends, etc. Then I can also see how your facilitation was to engage the others in asking those questions, in probing. So you use the book and you use some of your own questions, but you really solicited others to share what was coming up for them in this person's card choice or whatever. So I think all of those moves enable people to start to see and interact with each other differently. Like even afterwards, I offline connected with a couple of people in the group and just said, hey, oh my gosh, that was so cool. What did you think about this? And, you know, one in particular, because of having this, I brought up the whole muscle tension. Reba does Qigong, right? And Tai Chi. So I was like, hey, maybe you can help me with moving some energy. That might be really helpful. So I think those kind of conversations were facilitated by the tarot as well, and finding resources. So look at that. I already reached out for help. See, I'm not resisting anymore, Amy.
Yeah, you're so right. That it's so cool because like I say, I've studied this for years, but everybody has gifts that they have to share. And I think it was really what you're bringing up too, is how other people were getting messages in the group. And I like to say, or I've heard it explained as that's the universe giving you postcards. So if you're watching someone else's reading, so if somebody is listening to us right now and they saw the Ace of Pentacles and it like hit them in that space in their body where it's resonating, or these shadow questions I was asking you, they're kind of like, wait a minute, like this is resonating with me. The universe is sending you a postcard through Valerie's message. And that's why the group gatherings are so impactful. And you can schedule specific ones with me through the createmagicatwork.net coaching page, and bring your friends. And my membership group, I've opened up two sessions that they can sign up for specifically. So the membership group gets cool stuff like that. But yeah, and you can join the membership group too.
Love that. Love that. Oh my gosh. Any final messages for us? Anything that you think would be helpful for people to not only connect to you, but also connect to themselves in this process?
Yeah, I was thinking more, considering everything we discussed today. Magic is everywhere, and look for the signs and look for the symbols and trust yourself that you have the power within to follow those signs and symbols on your path and on your journey.
Yeah. And you know what I would add to that, because you mentioned spiritual intelligence earlier, that that for me, I'm a Christian, right? So, but I also understand that God imbued all of us, and God, Allah, you know, spirit, whatever name you call that energy, but imbued each and every one of us with wisdom. And you know, that spirit that lives inside of us is that wise inner guide. And so, you know, when you say that to listen to ourselves is just quieting ourselves. It's not listening to our ego, not listening to the conditioned responses of our community or our society or our families, but really to that wisdom that each of us have access to. That's how I interpret what you share. So if that helps other people, you know, bend into this a little bit more, so be it. Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so fun, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone enjoys it. So
absolutely. And no, you know, I don't take for granted that I know I asked you to maybe share some of those modalities. So I don't take for granted that you shared a part of your magic with us, that it's an area that you're still exploring and discovering for yourself, but also finding ways to contribute it in meaningful ways to people. So thank you for allowing me and us to participate in that.
Yay. Thank you. Of course. Everyone that saw it was meant to see it. So that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And with that said, if you want to make sure that not only are you meant to see other episodes, but also meant to review this one, go to www.timetocomealive.com so that you can subscribe and get this in your inbox, and or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, therefore get the notifications every time a new episode is posted. And feel free to share this with people in your life who you think this message resonates with. You know, Amy, thank you so much for your time, for your energies, for your gift. And make sure to put your website on the notes page so that people are able to find you and connect with you separately.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Good. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day.